Yo, 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 what's up? Welcome back to another episode of Unapologetically Black, Never Broken, Always Empowered. I am Brittany, joined by my co hosts, Rich and Dre. What's good?
Yup.
I should have done this before we went on air. Moo, remind me of your real name.
Shay.
All right. So we are being joined by Shay, Cameron, and Kai. Welcome, guys. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
So we always start our episodes off with a mental health check-in. So I will start with our guests. Kai, if you want to kick it off, love, how are you feeling? How's your week been? What's going on?
I'm taking it slow. I got 3 weeks left until school starts again. So I'm pretty good. I'm in a good headspace. Drinking a lot, smoking. So.
That's a good headspace.
Yeah.
It's summer.
I say it may be problematic, but yeah, it's a summertime vibe.
I don't see an issue with it. We grown.
No issues.
Exactly. Cam, do you mind if I call you that?
Oh, perfectly fine.
Okay. How you feeling, girl?
I guess I'm feeling okay. I got this bum ass broke foot. So dealing with that.
Oh, like a legit broken foot?
Yeah, I legit broke my foot stepping off the curb.
Oh wow.
That sucks. That sounds like it hurt.
I was supposed to be going to work that night too.
That's crazy. I have a friend who broke her foot. We were in the club and she slipped down like 2 stairs. Broke her foot.
Hot girl shit. Yeah.
She was actually sober. She was actually sober, and then I found out I was pregnant.
Because you're doing hot girl shit sober and fail.
I found out I was pregnant right after, and that just ended our like hot girl summer. That was it.
You could still have a hot girl summer and be pregnant.
That's true, but not the way I was hot girl summer. Right? God was like, "Nah, your liver needs to chill." Okay, so we gonna divine intervention that.
Oh wow.
And Shay, how are you feeling?
I'm just lifing, dealing with this Houston heat.
Gang, I'll be home 2 weeks.
Yes. Good, I can see you.
I'll be home in 2 weeks. When the kids go back to school.
In 2 weeks?
Yeah, my kids go back on the 9th and the 11th.
Okay.
Mine go back on the 17th. Yeah.
I was gonna say a little longer. Maybe like I think here it's like the 29th.
Kid free rich auntie over here. Minus the rich.
Right, it's manifesting. You're manifesting. Rich, how you feeling? Speaking of Rich,
I'm motherfucking tired. Like motherfucking tired. I've been at work since 8:30 this morning. I just got off not even 20 minutes ago. I ain't showered yet. I'm sitting here. Luckily, I'm the only one in this hotel room.
Funk ass.
I'm just chilling, but I'm gonna give me something to drink and something to eat in the middle of the podcast. So if you see me walk off, that's because
not in the middle. I'm glad you announced that.
You know what? Because I thought about like getting up and like refilling this cup too. So as long as
you see me get some food.
Yeah. I did not prepare me any snacks either. So,
and you know what? Depending on who we get in the comments, it might be a long ass night. So you might need some of those.
Michelle already says she's here, and we all know Michelle's the reason why we even have a part 2 happening today.
Yeah.
Before we get into that, Dre, how you feeling?
I'm doing good. Just I got done helping my aunt out and picked up a second job, so I'm about to have no sleep. So.
You said that so happily.
Right.
It's the biggest smile. You're like,
I feel like I slept in the 2 years that I've known, or year and a half that I've known you. I feel like you've never been asleep. You and Dwight, you've never been asleep.
Big facts. Like you pop in at 2 a.m. It's Dre, Cam, and Dwight. Like in the chat. Like, hey,
hell no, I'm asleep.
Team no
so
sleep.
y'all have insomnia too?
Shit, I dropped that shit after college, girl. Hell no. I love to sleep.
I love to sleep too. That's why I got pills for it.
Right.
Me and this demon gonna have to get along, pimp, because we going to bed. So whether he going to get to bed with me, I'm getting we going to sleep one way or the other.
That's hilarious.
It's something in my ass.
Yeah, no, I'm a sleeper. Like I go to bed early. Right after this podcast, I'm yawning. And then I'm ready to go to bed. But I wake up super early. So
girl, shit, like the same time every fucking day. 7:20, 7:30, looking stupid.
But like I said, today is our LGBTQ plus part 2 episode. We had one last month for Pride, and towards the end of the conversation, we realized there was so much more we could talk about. Also, Kai was supposed to be there, and we really wanted Kai to be there, so we just had to make a part 2. You know,
oh my
that's
God,
how it
thank you
works.
so much. That's for me.
Also, Rich failed to tell Shay and in a timely manner, so you know now we're here.
Well, okay, maybe that's that last part in a timely manner. I told her it just wasn't.
That's that nigga time.
Yeah, he was on CP time. CP time.
Oh wait, Michelle's starting out with questions.
I know Michelle be on my neck, yo.
She be ready. Let's start with what Michelle has to say. All right.
Iron Squad, we're ready.
Right. Okay.
All right.
So you have had a month. I said, oh my God. Someone else needs to read. You've had a month to figure it out, Rich. If sexuality, why did you put it down? If sexuality
my bad. I thought you had read it already. My bad. Go ahead.
I struggled with the second word.
Okay, so you had a month to figure it out. If sexuality is taught, how do you know that you were actually straight? We never got an answer. And go.
Okay. So how I believe sexuality is taught is through for the most part, right? Obviously we're not talking about everybody, but for the most part, it's taught through environment and upbringing, what you see, and you will choose what they choose to do. So for me in my house, what I saw growing up was my granddaddy, my grandmother. So my mama, a man. I'm not gonna get move. Shut up. I saw my mama.
Wait.
And a man. I seen my aunt, husband. So that's what I seen. And I just, when I looked at them, like, oh, look, it goes some pretty little girls around here. Like, hey, what's up, babe? And then also where I grew up at, that was the thing. If you didn't like women, that's like, look, I felt bad for some people that grew up in my neighborhood. I really did. Because it was one of those things where it was constantly get the girl. Even as a virgin, you were made fun of consistently. Made fun of, bullied because you were a virgin. Niggas in the 7th grade being made fun of because they a virgin.
Yeah.
It's so ridiculous.
I'm not bullshitting you. Where I grew up at, niggas in the 7th grade is being made fun of because they are a virgin. So it's those type of things that I believe cultivated people to their lifestyle.
But do you believe that's pushing sexuality on a child?
That's the same thing.
That's exactly what it sounds like.
Sexual agenda.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, we can agree to that one. Yeah, that would be pushed. I believe that they did push sexuality on children. It was
they pushed you not to be gay. They pushed you to go for girls.
Heterosexuality versus homosexuality. They were pushing heterosexuality.
Okay. So I know the question was directed towards you, and I'm not trying to
no.
But okay, so I don't want to say that we grew up in similar situations, but the way that you describe your upbringing kind of sounds like mine. I have nobody gay around me. Like, it was nobody a part of the. I mean, and if it was, then it was either like an aunt friend that she would talk about behind his back or something like that. But as far as like having intermediate, no, I was in church, bro. Like, I was in church. Everybody I knew was straight. My auntie was straight, bruh. It got so bad for me. Like, I feel like if it's something that's taught, then I should have learned how to be straight a long time ago. But I knew I was gay since I was 3. So I was 3 years old and I was looking at JCPenney catalogs and men in their underwear. I'm just like, oh, it's doing something. I don't know what it's doing. But I guess the way that I'm supposed to feel about these girls is the way that I feel about these boys. And the thing is, I don't want to say it's necessarily a choice, but I feel like especially for masculine presenting people, and when I'm saying masculine presenting people, these are people that look like men or men who identify as cis men. You're not granted the same. You're not granted the opportunity to really like sit down and be like, is this something that I want, or is this something that I feel like I'm forced into? And not saying that you got to partake in the stuff, but you know how we make an exception for like, especially girls. I hate to say that like that, but like girls it's a little bit more lenient for them.
I've always heard like, oh, that's
you do get that bisexual pass as a female.
You be like, oh yeah, she just
to where it's Right. Or it's like, oh yeah, I'm in on this too, so it's all okay.
But as far as as far as a man, and I'm not saying like that because I feel like a lot of us, gays included, they'll be like, oh, a man, he let this man do this to him, so he automatically gay. No, it's okay to be like, oh, I don't know if I'm not quite sure. Let me try it. Because I know a few guys who's like, oh, I've tried it. It was not for me.
I know it's more like violent kind. Well, not violent. That's totally the wrong word. More aggressive with Black women. They will like once a man has touched a dick, like you a dead flower to their ass.
He gave for life.
So now my question is, who do you believe is responsible for this? And I know it's not one in particular person, right? So who do you guys believe is responsible for cultivating Black people into such a sexuality world? Or do you believe that's across all races and colors? But from what I see, I believe Black people push sexuality way more than anyone else that I've seen.
It's definitely due to white supremacy, because sex was one of the ways that was used to break the slaves. And so sex became a big thing within like the African American culture, to where men had to be this strong man and example of a man that won't break, considering how they tried to break them.
So you think this is a centuries old problem like this?
Oh yes, this is something it's a very systematic problem because it's woven in so just naturally, and it's ingrained right now.
Yeah, I agree, because other cultures aren't like that. I know I mentioned this in our first one, but other cultures say like men are for fun and women are for babies. Like that is something that they live by. So it's definitely being homophobic and like this, like using the Bible to demonize people. Like that is very much so ingrained in the Black community, and Americans in general, but specifically.
Yeah,
Black
I would definitely say it's more of a Western thing, right? Because in certain cultures, like in from what I've known and what I've seen in Japan, like they don't say men are for fun and women are for babies. They legit believe like it's supposed to be man, woman. Like that's how their culture is set up. So they don't believe. I have heard that is more of a Middle East thing.
Yeah.
Type of area where they do believe that. But then now my question comes into belief is that more of a religious thing more than it is, say, a cultural or natural thing? Like what
are you saying is the religious thing? Like them being sexually free?
That men are for play and women are for babies, right? Men are for fun and women are for babies. Do they believe? From what I've heard, that's more of a religious thing. Like that's what they. Like,
I'm sure it has its religious like input into it. That like women are for babies because like that's who we're gonna get married to. But
because they're some of their history is rooted in they'll have 6, 7, 8 wives, right? And some starting at the age of 16, 17, the moment they're able, and then some believe the moment they're able to bleed, they're able to breed. Like they believe that shit. Like she bleeds, she can breathe. So right? They believe that shit. And I'm not trying to clown anybody.
No.
I mean, it's basically what they're trying to have now.
I've heard that before.
That part.
Before did you want to speak before me? Because I don't want to, because I'm a talker. I'll be talking. So okay, so when it comes to like being sexual, I feel like people magnify the Black community like we're anything other than human. Like anybody else is allowed to be as sexual as they please, and I'm talking about as far as like quote unquote racist. Like because I know so many white queer people. They're like, that's their thing. Like they can let it all hang out and nobody will ever question it. Nobody will scrutinize it. But the minute somebody Black like embraces that, I feel like that's not out of the cultural norm to be sexual. There's old pagan gods. You go back and look at history and shit like that. Going back to Africa and shit like that. There are people who worship gods of sex and gods and goddesses.
Right.
Of sex. Like it's natural. It's a part of, it shouldn't be a thing that's taboo. The thing where I feel like that gets kind of muddy is because of colonization and because of
I was just about to say that.
And it's prominently, and we can say Christianity, but Islam and Judaism, they all the same thing. They all cousins. So wherever they touch down, wherever they touch down, and like this was made the dominant culture. They made us to be ashamed of ourselves. But like none of what we're talking about, none of what we're experiencing is nothing new. It's not anything. Right. Nothing's new under the fucking sun. But the way that we feel and how people are cultivated, like how you cultivate your feelings and your outlooks on certain things, it's because of religion. And people, I know a lot of people these days, they're like, I'm spiritual, I've left the church behind, I'm not this or that, but they still move with the mindset of what they was brought up in.
Exactly.
And a lot of people don't want to confess to that, but like a lot of people can be like, oh, I don't get this or I don't want to get this, but they can't give you a necessarily a legit answer as to why without them like trying to shy away from like, oh yeah, I was raised Christian, I was raised Muslim, and they said this was bad, and now as a 30-something-year-old adult, this is what I feel, and I can, like, do you understand what I'm saying? So I don't feel like I don't feel like we're like a group that's like hypersexualized. I feel like media and society has made us try to portray us being hypersexualized versus being like, oh, it's naturally as sexual as the next person.
Oh yeah, that's definitely it. Media definitely plays a huge role in it, to where like white people will come in, when they come in and fetishize you, be like, oh yeah, why? It'll be upset when you're not with that shit, and they're like, why are you freaking out about me just trying to grab up on you and put your dick in my hand? Why is that a problem with that?
As long as it's consensual.
No, they believe they don't even have to ask.
Shit.
I mean, in general, Black people, starting from youth, are sexualized by each other, by adults, like little boys. Oh, that's my little boyfriend. And it's like, no.
So uncle coming over, so go put some shorts on.
Is twerking a dance or is twerking sexual?
Twerking is a dance.
But it's a cultural thing too.
You can. Is it cultural or I thought he said sexual?
No. Is twerking a dance where it's like a part of a dance routine, or is it sexual?
It's both.
It's a sexual dance.
It depends on what culture you're brought up in, though, because Jamaica.
It's a dance with it's eroticism. There's eroticism built in thing because Black people more have curvy bodies. And so that's what makes it erotic, seeing the body move in a way that a lot of people just aren't used to. And so for us, it's not a big thing. But for people outside the culture, it's, oh my God, look at that.
Parents get upset because their 12-year-old is twerking.
Becky, look at her.
And I felt that that's exactly where you were going to go with that. So it's a difference, because it's very much a difference. When you twerking by yourself, if a little kid, if a 12-year-old twerking by themselves, why are you trying to sexualize? Like, no, that's a dance.
Yeah.
They okay. It's a difference between having while you winding up on somebody or like a motherfucker, like, grinding up on. Those are two different things. I wouldn't get on a 12-year-old's neck for twerking, because bitch, at 12 years old, I was trying to twerk.
Right.
I may not have nobody behind me, but I was trying to do it. It was a dance. Like, hell, the fast beat coming. Yeah, even like in New Orleans culture, that's a perfect example.
That's what they do all.
That's all they do from
3, 4, 5 years old.
Exactly.
I remember being 9 years old in my auntie's basement. We practiced in doing the crybaby.
I do remember doing it.
Me too, bitch. Me too.
I think that the crybaby is definitely sexual. You're humping the ground. The crybaby?
Hey.
I would give you anything else. The crybaby was absolutely sexual.
But being sexual and like it being an invitation are two different things. You know what I mean? And that's
no one is saying touch anybody, but it's still sexual.
No, you're not saying that,
sexualized,
but it doesn't stop people from running up on your butt while you try to dance.
I mean,
right.
But I also feel like we kind of,
if I don't back it up on you, then you stay where you are.
And then I feel like a lot of us we kind of forget how it feels to be like a 12-year-old or a 13-year-old. Like, this is the time when your body is changing. Hormones are what's not. You're transforming into sexual beings. So it's not for us adults to be looking at. But like, if a 12 or 13-year-old, like, yes, they are turning into sexual beings. So it's like, I don't know, like I maybe because I'm not a parent, like I don't have that same like, oh, I need to shield my children or something like this. But very much like, bro, like I know when my little cousins, nieces, nephews, whatever, when they turn 12, 13, 14 and they start feeling whatever the fuck they feel, I'm not supposed to lash out on them because I remember going through the same thing. Like, dang, like my body is changing. The way I'm looking at stuff is changing. The things that I'm curious about is changing. And so, like, I feel like if like, instead of like throwing shame and shit, because that'll make somebody like, even if you're not gay, straight, whatever the fuck you are, if you do that to children, it'll make them recluse and then they start sneaking and doing shit. Right. Instead of being
I can sympathize going through that now because, like, at being a trans woman, I'm on my hormone stuff. My body is changing in ways, and then like people are looking at me different.
So I would definitely, I wouldn't shame my daughter for whatever changes, or my son for whatever changes that they go through. I would definitely try to shield them from certain things, because I might feel like, okay, like, hey, I don't think you're ready for this yet, but we're gonna work our way up to that. And I know how certain people are, right?
Right. Oh yeah.
Because a nigga thought he could touch you. And you know what I'm saying? And depending on how my daughter body grows out, my family, they naturally have thick thighs, thick waist.
Oh, these
so, I would hate to have to slap a 14-year-old kid because he thought he could touch my daughter. I'm sorry, I would just have to. But so I would definitely say, okay, hey baby, look, you're 12, you're 13. A lot of this is your mama's conversation, but I'm gonna give you the male's point of view and what most likely is trying to happen at 14, 13, baby. They're not in love with you. I'm just gonna be honest with you. They're not in love with you.
They will definitely say they are, though.
They're in love with the thought of what your body is.
They still do.
Hello.
You can let them know, hey, I love you, I support you, while also saying, hey, look, nah, pimp, we're not gonna do that. Like, we're not gonna go. No, you can't go out at 12:30 to go drink with your friends, and you think that they all.
And that's valid, and that's valid as fuck. But as long as we don't, like, I feel like the minute that they be like, hey, like, because like, not to put anybody on blast, but like, like I'm around certain kids, and you look at their search history, and you be like, oh, these are questions that they want to ask. But it's like, bro, like if you want to know what breasts do, or what a thing does, or what menstruation is, or what sex is, like I feel like, bro, like no matter what age it is, you may feel like, oh, it's not appropriate for them, but if they ask them the question or they present it to you, then that's the most appropriate time to address it.
Yeah,
because if you don't address
especially if you see it.
If you don't address it, somebody else gonna address it. And I can, from personal shit, when I started fucking around when I was 14. And I'm talking about not fucking around. I think I was the first person, 19 years old. After that, everybody else, 25, 35. Like, these were grown-ass men taking advantage of a fucking child. And I learned a lot of shit from people that I should have learned when, if I felt that my family wouldn't have jumped on my ass or beat the shit out of me. These are things that I could have been like, hey, like, I feel like this. How do I go about doing this? Or how do I go about approaching a person? Or like, if this is the choice that I want to make that's, sexual,
that's
what are the safe ways for me to be? How can I navigate this without getting hurt? I've been burnt a lot. And I'm not, like, I'm putting my business out there, but like, bro, the first time I caught an STD, I freaked the fuck out. I was 19 years old. I'm freaking the fuck out. And I'm like, oh my God, like, this is the worst thing that could ever happen to me. I'm calling my granny, calling my aunt, like, oh my God, what am I supposed to do? And these niggas over here giving me half-ass, like, half judgment and half like, oh, well, go to the doctor, but you shouldn't have been doing that.
Yeah,
right.
I don't want to be too harsh on the older generation because of the way they grew up, right? So, like,
and I get it.
I feel like,
but there's still shit you gotta unlearn. You have to know at some point, like, that shit's not healthy and it's not helping.
I believe that's easier for us to say because it's easier for us to adapt to different things. Where if motherfuckers 75 years old, they live their whole life a certain way. The moment you try to tell them something different, they confused and they baffled. They like, no, I don't want to do that. Like, what you talking about?
But
it's easier for us because we're younger and we grew up in a different time frame.
But also, if you're 75 years old, that means you lived through decades of social change and you've learned absolutely fucking nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
You're like, nothing. You know, Miss Becky down the street, she's still saying nigga. It don't matter what time frame she done grew up in.
But I don't mess some older people who don't
But I bet you Miss Becky better know not to say that in front of my black ass, or she gonna get dotted on them eyes. She know that social change.
Miss Bethy at 75.
I am not my ancestors.
But Bethy at 25 won't have and called the cops on you.
And I don't care. I would have took them cops on. Fuck that. Because bitch would have learned that day she wasn't gonna call nobody else no nigga.
Like I see where you're coming from, Rich. Like I honestly do. Like I always like, because I know how I think and how I navigate, and so like I don't want to put too much business out there. But the way it was a situation that happened with my mother and my grandmother back in the 80s, and my grandmother asked, she was like, "Hey, do I need to call the police?" And my mama felt like, oh, that wasn't enough of what my grandmother did for her. But then I'm like, okay, this nigga, she was born in 1947, the daughter of a preacher, and a woman with a 3rd grade education. Like, I'm all for like understanding where you come from. But like also at the same thing, it's like in 1986, when my grandmama asked that question, coming from the background that she wasn't, that was progressive as fuck. Mm-hmm. For you to be like, oh, we need to go and we can go to the police and get this shit cleared the fuck up.
Oh yeah, so, congrats to your grandma.
Yeah. So it's like I can see where people can say like, "Oh, that's cringy. You should have did more." But like, I can also empathize with people who are trying. But like, when it's just a flat out nope, or you just like, "Oh no, bro," like that means you literally choosing to be ignorant, and at that point, I don't have any empathy from where your point of view is coming from, how you grew up, nothing like that.
Exactly, it's that point.
Going through.
Right, because they'll acknowledge like, okay, I know things are different, and I know like, yeah, I should probably be doing this, but no, I'm gonna keep on thugging it out this way.
Grandma and I talk about her all the time, but I'm like, bro, like if my grandma was 73 when she died, or going on 73 when she died, but if my grandma could get my pronouns correct, then what? Or if my little 5-year-old niece cousin can get that shit correct, then anybody in between, there's really like, I mean. We're not obligated. Nobody's obligated to teach, and nobody's obligated to tolerate your ignorance, because we live in the age of information. Everybody has the same access. And if you don't have access,
I hate that.
So
I hate y'all have the same smartphone in y'all's hands as we do, and you want to act like you so ignorant and you just don't know. You're choosing it.
I'm not gonna lie.
You're choosing it.
Absolutely.
I understand exactly what y'all are saying. But some shit, if information for me, because I'm a busy man, right? If shit ain't thrown in my face, or if I like, you know what I'm saying, I don't catch the shit. And I like, there's some stuff that Dre and Brittany have told me about, like before coming up to the episode, with some things that I had no idea about. Because if I don't know about it, I don't know to go research the shit. I'm about to go look this shit up. I don't know.
Well, of course, but eventually you learn about it.
Right. What I do,
and then you do your research.
Especially when it's someone you love. If it's someone you love, a child, a grandchild, a nephew, a niece, you know what I mean? Like you take the time to understand where they're coming from.
Right.
I believe in a high level of respect.
What were you saying, Jay?
So it's not about having prior knowledge, it's about willingness to learn.
Thank you. There it is.
Absolutely.
Because when you show
go ahead. No, finish your sentence.
When you just show like you are not going to make any effort to like even like, because it can be impressive just to be like, hey, I came up and I just learned this one random thing. I don't know if you know anything about it or if you even care about it, but this is something about your community that I went and found out myself.
Absolutely. So I was going to say, Kai had mentioned pronouns, and leading into this episode, that has been a major conversation between DeAndre, Rich, and myself about pronouns. I don't know if you've seen other episodes, Kai, but Rich did decide to calm down. Leading into these episodes, it was Lord Rich, King Rich, etc. Rich, and his point was, when you came on, this is my pronoun, respect it. We tried to tell him it was a title, not a pronoun, but that's not there.
Yeah, there's a difference.
Actually, Google says pronouns are titles. It's a surname. So Lord is a surname, and I can use it. Surname is a pronoun. Thank you.
I mean, and that's fine.
Thank you. I just wanted to point that out for Brittany because she kept saying Lord, it doesn't count. Lord is a surname, and it's definitely a pronoun.
Okay, and I'm still not going to refer to you as that, but I will continue.
Why? Why not? If that's what I asked for.
That is what they has asked me to do.
Whatever, Ashley. No one asked you.
I mean, well, I guess it's like saying if you told the kid to call you Mr. Rich and he'd be like, nah, nigga, I'm gonna call you Rich. Like it's no disrespect. He just ain't calling you by the title that you want.
But you know what? Not gonna lie to you.
For me,
a few years ago, and it was an older lady, and she was like, my name is Miss Lisa, and I'm like, to me, you Lisa, like, why the fuck you Miss Lisa? You like, I don't know you. Now my grandmother and her friends are Miss whoever because I know them.
But right? Isn't that looked at as respect?
But you just Lisa.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a sign of respect. That's what it.
So do you?
But you don't automatically owe anybody that. You don't.
That's absolutely true.
Because
I don't think you have to go out of your way to be rude.
Right. I don't think it's going out of the way to be rude. For me, when somebody wants like measurement, it has like an air of superiority to it. Like they're trying to put themselves above you as an authority figure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So do you, Kai, and anyone else, do you feel disrespected when people purposely avoid using your pronouns?
I'm gonna let y'all go first.
For sure, because that means you are going. Gender pronouns is one of the basic forms of gender affirming healthcare for an individual. If what you would prescribe for a child who has like gender dysphoria or anything, just calling them by their pronouns that they choose. So you going out of your way to do something as that, to take that away from that person, their personhood, and who they are defining themselves as, because you have no right to define that fucking person, no matter how you feel about it in your base ass, bitch ass feelings. It's a cop-out move.
So what would you say is a good age to talk to kids about pronouns?
Oh, I'm in my bad. And Mumu, did you have anything to say?
No, she muted because Mason was calling her.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I'm gonna go from my personal thing. The young, it's 4 kids in this damn house. The youngest one is 5. My cousin, she's kind of reserved. Like she just don't know. And it's a difference. You can tell when people ain't exposed to shit versus motherfuckers who doing shit out of spite. And I've been misgendered plenty of times because I tell people, hey, my shit is they, them. Also, on a side note, like whenever I meet new people, everybody's a they or them until I'm like for sure, like, hey, I identify as male or I identify as female. I feel like that makes life so much easier. Like people are like, oh, it's hard to do the pronoun.
It is not.
Like, if you just default to they, them, and then interact with
they only think it's hard because they start thinking about it. Because if you catch a bitch when they ain't thinking, they gonna use they them.
And then sometimes like like my people ain't hateful, but they'll be like, oh, he, and I'll be like, okay, well that's cool because I'm mad. Like I look like biologically I look like my sex, and so I'll be like, hey, like if you can think about it, or if you wasn't like, try to put that into practice. But as far as like what's age appropriate, the youngest one here is 5. Last night she told me, she looked at me she looked dead ass in my face, and she was like, I don't pee on myself, sir. And then she's like, I mean, damn. I mean, you. And it was cute and innocent, but it's like the kid, like the babies get it, bro. And so it's not. Yeah. Somebody's existence shouldn't be warranted as being like, oh, is this appropriate or not? The fact that I'm fucking here and I'm in your circle, I'm in your space, like I'm not here for like tolerance or like, oh, am I appropriate? Because I'm a human being, bro. So whatever the fuck I present to the fucking world or what's name, like that's appropriate. That's age appropriate. I'm not doing anything sex and gender affirmation is nothing. It has nothing to do with
because I knew I was trans when I was 5 years old. That's when I knew. Because I was praying and wishing on stars, like, oh, please let me wake up a girl, because I know it's going to be so much more easier that I don't have to be bullied and called a faggot every fucking day.
Oh, God. That's one of my first fucking memories right there, bro. Being called a sissy, being called a faggot. 3 years old. Right. Yes, bro. And so that's why I say, like...
I was called faggot before I was called a nigga.
And if that's acceptable, and I'm not saying that that's acceptable, but if this is acceptable to bring around small children, and adults are horrible. At least they were horrible to me. If that was
horrible to me
for them to bring that around me at 3 years old, then me telling children that I don't have any sexual interest in because being gay, queer is not synonymous to being a pedophile. There's no such thing as too young. It's just so when they go out into the world and they meet different people that's different from them, then they don't look like they hateful or they don't look like they ill-informed. Because I remember when I first came around, they was like, "Oh, you wear skirts or you got your nails painted. That's for girls." And my aunt, which is their grandma, she'll be like, "Oh, this is for little boys. This is for little girls." I'm not really just trying to start shit, but like what she was born in and how she was raised, that's not right. When you go out into the world and you 10, 12 years old and you meet different people, or you be like, "Oh, you look like this," or "Why are you a boy?" or "You look like a boy, but you wearing acrylic nails. Why are you doing it?" That's for good. No, it's not. It's for anybody who can afford it.
Exactly. Fucking capitalism. Fucking capitalism right there.
Shay, did you have any comments on before we move on to Michelle's? I did.
Look, I grew up in a household full of Christians, both my aunt and my grandmother, and being gay wasn't. It just wasn't what it was supposed to be. And once they found out that I was gay, they kind of really washed their hands of me and just let me do my own thing. So I had to navigate everything by myself. So a lot of what Cam and Kai are talking about, I don't know anything about because I'm still learning. You know, I'm 33 years old, about to be 34, and I'm still learning a lot about the LGBTQ community, like, because I had to do it all by myself. There's, I think, maybe one other gay person in our family, Rich, if I'm not mistaken.
He's like, I don't know no other.
I'm not gonna hold you. I'm gonna put a strong ass maybe on that.
Maybe.
No, maybe.
Look.
So, question.
I don't want people to think that I'm rude. I'm an ass or
right.
When I talk about the things that I don't know, it's because of the way that I grew up. I sincerely mean that, right? There are certain things that were, say, taboo, right?
Mm-hmm.
You didn't know them, you didn't speak on them, and for quite frankly, you moved away from it, right?
Mm-hmm. For sure. That's how a lot of Black families were.
When I seen gay dudes get beat up in the hallway at school because they were gay, I don't want no part of that.
Right, you just turn and look away.
Walk over here because I don't want no part of that, right? You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that they should have done that, but what I'm saying is look, I like my teeth, I like my face. I'm gonna walk this way, and you just ignore it. Now, I've always been raised though. Hey, look, man, if it ain't your business, keep moving.
So the way I was raised, it was you confuse the stupid people, and when you say something smarter than them that they can't really respond to, they usually tend to shut down, and you don't have to get hit all the time.
I moved on, and I was just like, look, my family, they're very Christian. They grew up in the church. That's what we did, and I left. I went to the Marine Corps after that, and I lived Marine Corps life after that.
I just know I was never afraid to shake a bit.
Gay is not a topic in my family. Like when they see me, it's just, oh, hey, Moo, that's it. It's not, oh, well, who's your girlfriend? Or like when, especially with my son, when I first started bringing my son around, it was like, you got a kid? Well, no, not mine, but it's mine. You know, I thought you was who I am. So how do you have a kid? Okay, you know, me and my girlfriend had a kid. Oh, well, it's a lot now. Well, that's not really your son. So, you know, so it's something now that we don't talk about. It's just like, oh, well.
See, I don't get that
Here comes Moo.
How are they saying that's not your child when there's men that step up to raise kids that aren't their own and will be damned to say that that's not my son? So the fact that they will do that to you is ridiculous.
You would have to understand our family history to understand that. First off, my family is mainly women. So that's one major thing. And when I say mainly women, me growing up, there were 3 boys. Everyone else out of the probably 16, 20 people were women. I was raised in a house full of women. Mm-hmm. That's how I grew up. My little brother.
We didn't grow up in the same household, guys. We didn't.
No, she was with her pops, and I was with my grandmother.
I was with my grandmother.
I had a little ragtag dog with her. Her dog dislikes me because every time I come over, I scare her.
No, but But I also, but like, said where you were coming from, like I get there because I'm from Texas and I'm from the South. Like my grandma, she's the daughter of a preacher. Well, I grew up in church. That's all I know. It wasn't until I was 27 years old, like where I was like, I moved to California, and like this one, I remember I was smoking a blunt. This nigga, he was a nigga. He's like, "Hey, you gay?" And like, I wanted to be like, I had conditioned myself just to be lying. I was always
right.
I was always clockable, but I was just like, you know what? Like, this nigga cooler than a bitch. Let me see what'll happen if I say yeah. And if he try to whip my ass, he ain't gonna whip my ass. So like, I'm gonna say yeah. And as soon as I said yeah, and he was like, oh, that's cool. And he was like one of my good friends when I was in LA. I was like, well, if this random ass nigga who's known me for less than a year can accept me for who the fuck I am, then anybody else that's been in my life,
right.
this has been a me thing though. Anybody else who's in my life as far as family, and I get the anxiety of like, oh shit, will people still fuck with me once I'll be like, hey, this is me? And like my mama, she had some pushback and shit like that, and I had to threaten her. I'd be like, bro, I can not talk to you for the rest of my fucking life if you feel like you're gonna keep saying this is a fucking choice. And then it's I feel like it's with a Christian family because we're heavily Christian, but like my mom and her sister, they ain't fucking saints. So it's just like you gotta slowly, I don't know, for me, I had to slowly like some shit I gotta stress, and it's like, bro, this ain't up for fucking debate. This is who I am. But like as far as like having that genuine interest in like they don't ask me, oh, do you have a boyfriend? Who do you like? Or so and so, how do you date? Or what do you think about this? There's no genuine what's name unless I'm coming up and bringing it about and saying, hey, this is something that's important to me, or you shouldn't say that, or this and that because it's pissing me off or it hurts me. And if you say you love me, then why the fuck you hurting me?
Right.
I didn't mean to click on that.
Oh, bitch, and this is when the drink kicked in because I just lost my fucking point.
Okay.
I just lost my point, girl. Sorry.
What were you? It's okay. I do it all the time. All the time. What Shit Talk Saturday? That's just me drinking and talking. So to Michelle's point, so Michelle said I liked Cam's point. Can we dig more into gender dysphoria? But before we do that, I wanted to kind of talk
that's
about
like a whole science class, bro. Like,
no, I feel you. I wanted to talk about different genders, right? Because I learned today by Googling genders. I mean, I knew there were more than male and female, right? I knew that,
right?
But I know Rich doesn't, so I'm about to learn you something real quick.
Whoa. Come on, learn.
I'm about to learn you. Are you ready? Because it's true. All right. So there's agender. There is androgyny.
Okay, explain them as you say them.
Oh, okay. So there's agender. A person who is agender does not identify with any particular gender, or they may have no gender at all. Androgyny is a person who identifies as androgyny has a gender that is either both masculine and feminine or between masculine and feminine. I will say there are like very like.
So the word that you're looking for androgyny was androgynous.
Okay. But it says androgyny. There's no OUS at
the end. No, I'm talking about like if somebody presents, like when you're saying somebody presents it presents as androgynous, not androgyny.
Before you continue, let's start back on a more basic level. What is the difference between gender and sex? So
sex is
there.
Sex is the like what your body is, what biologically. Oh, you have it deals with penis and vagina. It doesn't.
Sex is based on your chromosomes, whether you have the XX chromosome, the XY chromosome, or any variation. Because there are even variations in that. Because you have intersex people. That's where that comes in.
One of them too. I didn't know that, but she is. She's XXY.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it was a little random tidbit, girl.
Oh wow!
Jamie Lee Curtis from Halloween. She's XXY.
Scream Queen.
Yeah, Scream Queen is XXY.
Oh, that's my bitch. I like her.
Yeah, so so sex is based off of your genetics, and then gender is really
is a social construct.
It's a social construct.
Because it's a social contract that changes over time with every culture and is different even from area to area. Because gender in the East is not going to be the same as gender in the West.
And if we want to go on a scientific level, because niggas love to bring up science and shit, the subject that they barely pass. But like, you know what they do when it comes about gender and shit. And it's like, bro, if you want to, and they love to compare us to animals, and I'm, we can do that shit. So we're gonna compare ourselves to animals. I can tell you right now, no lion with a penis is gonna be like, oh yeah, I'm a boy lion, versus a lioness is like, oh yeah, I'm a girl lion. Bitch,
but homosexuality is practiced a lot
because
in
they
animals
don't.
too.
Yes,
When you want to put it
Right,
in science
sexuality is present because sex is a base natural thing. Gender isn't because they're not socialized in that way.
exactly.
It's a social construct. It's only something that exists in humans to where we define ourselves by this is what you need to do to be a man, this is what you need to do to be a woman. Because a woman in the 50s is not even going to be defined the same as a woman of today.
Hmm.
Go ahead, Brittany. Continue.
Big facts. Okay. Bigender. A person who identifies as bigender has two genders. People who are bigender often display cultural masculine and feminine roles. Then there is butch. Women, especially lesbians, tend to use this term to describe the way that they express masculinity or what society defines as masculinity. There is cisgender, which I know you had a question. Kai had mentioned cisgender earlier. So cisgender
Sissies.
is a person who identifies with the sex that they were assigned with at birth. So the XX, XY, like you identify with what you were assigned with at birth. Gender expansive. The LGBTQIA Resource Center defined gender expansive as an umbrella term used for individuals who broaden their own culture's commonly held definitions of gender, including expectations for its expression, identities, roles, and or other perceived gender norms. That was a struggle, guys. Gender fluid. Go ahead.
I was gonna say this will lead after you finish. I have the question that you wanted me to ask earlier. It'll transition right into that.
Okay. I'll transition. Gender fluid. A person who identifies as gender fluid has a gender identity and presentation that shifts between or shifts outside of society's expectation of gender. Gender outlaw, like these are the ones I learned about. Gender outlaw is a person who identifies as gender outlaw refuses to allow society's definition of male or female to define them. Gender queer, a person who identifies as gender queer has a gender identity or expression that is not the same as society's expectations of the assigned sex or gender or assumed gender. Masculine of center. A person who uses this term is usually a lesbian or trans person who leans more towards masculine performances and experiences of gender. Non-binary. A person who identifies as non-binary does not experience gender within the gender binary. Omnigender. A person who identifies as omnigender experiences and possesses all genders. Polygender and pangender. People who identify as polygender or pangender experience and display parts of multiple genders. Transgender. This is an umbrella term that encompasses all people who experience and identify with a different gender than what was assigned sex at birth would suggest. So that includes non-binary and gender fluid people. Trans is more of an inclusive term that covers those who identify as non-binary and those who are genderless. And then there's two-spirit. Two-spirit is an umbrella term that encompasses different sexualities and genders in the indigenous Native American communities.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so glad you added that.
Specifically. So yeah, those are the different genders that exist today, because tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean,
because they're a social thing.
Yeah,
I mean, because
so with there being cultural differences and with there being so many different variations, how do we or how not we, because I don't do shit, how should the government structure laws that would help facilitate people in their living? Example, sports.
Let's not gender laws.
Well,
why do laws?
For example, sports, right?
Uh-huh.
So we all know that there's been plenty of articles written out with transgender women playing in women's sports.
not to overstep the transgender person, but let me
hold on, let me perk my ears up.
but since I fall under the umbrella because I am non-binary, I do know a little something about this shit too. So see, when people make that an issue, like it's quietly saying that you're not respecting or affirming what this person is saying, who they are. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, you have the advantage, but when a person is on hormones, that means the other hormone is being is being overshadowed by the prominent hormone. Yeah. So if you're on
like
estrogen,
a bitch over here breaking bones for the first time because she on estrogen.
Exactly. And so when you sit up here and be like, oh well, she used to be a man, you're taking away her womanhood or whatever the fuck, because she has just as much estrogen as a woman as a cis woman who has a uterus and has ovaries helping her produce the estrogen. There is no biological advantage of a
right, because I can pull up my charts and it tells you that I'm right in the prenatal range for a woman.
So do you believe that even on the athletic spectrum that they should allow this to happen?
I can't even compete the same as an athlete as I used to. My muscles pull in different ways now because my body changed. My pelvis tilted. Like people think like just because you get that shot of testosterone, it fuses. No, it doesn't fuse all the way. It's still very flexible and it will move. So I can't even stand the same amount of time that I used to.
Mm-hmm.
So like to say that I have the same body as I did when I was a male is a complete and blatant lie and a disrespect of all the shit I've been through to get to where I am now.
What did you say, Rich?
I was asking, so do you think we should wait until people fully transition before we allow them into a sport? Because
but who are you to say when they're fully transitioned?
Okay.
Because everybody's transition is their own. Because some trans people don't even want to take hormones.
Yeah.
That's trans medicalism. Not every trans person has to take hormones. So we need some regulation in there. But when we're talking about like we already have regulated rules and we're falling into those regulations to where you want to have a problem now just because trans people are a hot topic. Because we've been competing and we ain't been winning. We ain't just been dominating and smashing up sports because they only want to focus on trans women, but they ain't going after trans men in sports because
exactly.
There's trans men in sports.
Yeah. There was a lady back in the 70s too. She was a black woman. She was a black trans woman. I believe she ran track or whatever the fuck. But like niggas didn't clock her till it was like decades later.
Right.
And I don't even think she was like the best either. I don't think she was like just snatching goals and shit.
No,
I mean, and not to, my bad. I'm not trying to step on your toes, Cameron, or anything like that. I'm under the umbrella, but I'm not. I recognize where the fuck. I know where my damn backyard is at. I can see the apprehensiveness of people who like, okay, like if it was a trans person who doesn't want to transition and they're not on hormones.
Right.
I can see maybe the concern, but at the same time, they're still kind of like drawing the line between, we think that males are the superior. What's that? I done met bitches, bro. Natural, and no offense to it, what's that? I call everybody bitches, but I done met natural ass bitches who will fucking smoke niggas. Like, bro, she's stronger than you, she's faster than you, she has better endurance than your ass, but you believe that your ass has an advantage over this bitch. I believe
that to be true. If like I can't beat Lisa Leslie in basketball. No shit. Lisa Leslie 6 feet taller than me.
But let me can I interrupt?
Lisa Leslie is not beating Anthony Davis. They're both professional basketball players. No woman in the WNBA is going to last in the NBA. That is factual.
But how do you figure that?
Based on what scientific experiment? Based on what scientific experiment? Because I don't remember we having this set up to where we can have like the trials to say that this is fact.
based off of
There's a few
watching
women
the WNBA and how women in the WNBA play. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't want to say women. How people in the WNBA play.
So what? How does that equate to having them actually compete on the same court at the same time, and then seeing who's going to
break down statistics? And they'll say, okay, according to your statistics, we believe that you would not survive here because you are not.
Yeah, keyword, they believe.
Well, it's statistics, so that's what they're basing it
on. But statistically, I'm supposed to die at 36, but I'm trying to beat that one.
Well, yeah, everyone's not going to fall into the same statistic category. But if I average 26 points for the last 10 years, it's safe to assume that the 11th year I might average 26 points. But it's safe to assume that because that's what has happened in the last 10 years. So that's what they take. They'll take the statistic points of rebounds, steals, blocks, the way the game is played, the speed of the game, and they'll say, okay, the way that you grew up playing basketball and how you did it, you would not survive in the NBA. Not saying that not saying that they can't beat some niggas at the park. Not saying that they can't beat college people. I'm not even saying that. What I'm saying is when you add the same level of professionalism, professional basketball across both realms, it is statistically proven that they would not be able to match the NBA.
So you telling me there's no woman in the NBA that can whoop LeBron James' ass in basketball?
Not a fucking one. Stop it.
Oh yeah.
But see, I
don't want to use him because LeBron James is alpha amongst his own men, so it's not fair. But extreme like LeBron.
But anyway, back to the trans athletes. Anyway, I want to say that the people that be complaining usually be fucking losers. Because the bitch that was complaining about the swimmer, she was never placing in the top of anything. Yeah, Boo Boo, she didn't take your fucking spot. Your spot wasn't even fucking there.
Right, you at the bottom complaining. And I agree. And when we were talking about how there's 10 states currently that have a law in place that do not allow female to male transgendered people. No, male to female. Yeah, male to female transgender people to compete. But the law does not go the other way at all.
Right.
Like at all.
Because if you're going to put a targeted law.
If you're going to put a law in place, then you just say transgendered athletes cannot compete. You know what I mean?
Right. I'm not saying that's discrimination, point blank. It is point blank discrimination because you made a law targeting only one side of the minority group. So you're specific.
How dare you be a minority and be good at some shit?
You have
right.
That part. Here's my question, right? If we allow one person to take, say, a performance enhancing drug to help them with their transition, does that
who's on a performance enhancing drug?
Because of steroid and hormone is 2 different
my first question was going to be: is there a performance enhancing drug for those that are transitioning from female to male?
No, they go on testosterone. Yeah, they're just gonna get the basic testosterone they would have got during puberty.
Okay.
Right.
So it's not like you're getting some superhuman Captain America ass serum. Like we ain't busted out winter soldiers in this hoe.
Yeah.
I think a good example of seeing it just in media is Caitlyn Jenner, right? Because as an athlete, as Bruce Jenner, Bruce would have never gotten an Epsi award. Bruce wasn't. I mean, he was on Wheaties, but he transitioned into being Caitlyn Jenner, and now you're getting awards. You're Woman of the Year. It's
She's horrible. She's horrible.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. I mean,
I cannot stand Caitlyn Jenner.
I cannot support that girl at all.
At all. Like she is white feminism at its finest.
Oh, yes,
absolutely. And it gets awarded. Like you're on the cover of magazines as Woman of the Year, but then every other athlete is getting
she did not deserve that at all.
But that's where shit like that, like racism and any kind of ism and obia, is interlinked, bro. Because like people, I remember growing up and they'll be like, oh, well, the gays are getting all these rights and blah blah blah, and I'm just like, girl, you looking at the white faces of LGBTQIA, but as far as us niggas, we still making less. If we go to college and we competed with our peers, we still making less. We experience homelessness way more than them. We experience it's. I don't know.
That's how I felt with the whole Dave Chappelle thing, and they're talking about, oh, the trans people got these rights and they can be bullies and all. You take your job.
The black girls is getting chopped off. No, man, to get it burned the fuck alive.
I'm like, since when do I have this power, and where do I go to get the wand for it? Because I missed that lesson at Hogwarts.
Not at Hogwarts.
Hogwarts went for bitchcraft and wizardry.
That's hilarious.
I ran out of drink.
Aww.
I don't want to get up a second time because I don't want to look like no drunk, so I'm gonna keep it cute.
It's cool.
I still ain't got up the first time.
Right. You never.
You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and get up now.
Okay. So, my next question will be, and I know Kyle, you talked a lot about it in general with your life, but how do you feel religion and the gay community coexist? And like, do you still go to church, or do you condone people in the community going to church?
Okay, so
ooh, that's a hot topic right there.
It is.
Let's get
I'm
into
gonna give me something to drink because Moo, you gotta answer that question too.
So with me personally, I don't fuck with it. I went to college. I did my little history thing. I took African American studies as my minor. So then on the black tip, I was already like, oh no, man, bitch, like. But then especially being gay, it's just like, oh, you already didn't want me at this table. But on top of this, my black gay ass at your table. So I'm not going to sit there. As far as for how I feel about other people that are in my community, if that, personally, I don't feel, to me, I'm thinking, girl, what the fuck? Like, why are you doing it? But at the same time, I know that my viewpoints and my experience, we're not a monolith. So, like, if that's something that brings you comfort or you need that kind of spiritual guidance or whatever, girl, do you. Me personally, I can't pander to something that doesn't want me or doesn't want nothing. But if that's what you want to do and you're not being toxic about it, you're not imbuing self-hate about it, and it makes you a better person, go for it. Mm-hmm. But my personal belief, I do not feel like you should be black or you should not be black and LGBTQIA talking about and you're a part of the church and you're a part of the Abrahamic religions, because I don't want to. We talk about Christianity because that's what we was raised into. But if we're gonna be all inclusive and shit, all three of them motherfuckers is detrimental to the mental health of anybody.
So are you saying religion in general, or just Western religion?
We're talking about we talk about Judaism, Islam, and Christianity. I can't speak on because those are the big three in the world. Period. Mm-hmm. Anything else, I'm not well versed in other people's spiritual practices and shit like that. But things that were untouched by colonization, they seem to have it right because they all inclusive. They like, yeah, we got two bitches over here fondling each other's titties, playing with each other. We got two men, or we got somebody who's an in between, and it's you can see it through the culture, through the anthropology. Because I took anthropology as well in college. You can see it through their artwork and their painting and shit like that. Like, this is a part of the culture. There's nothing wrong with it. But these big three religions, I really do feel like it's detrimental to the mental health of a lot of people, especially when it's LGBTQIA people of color and blacks and people of color. Because you already got the one thing saying that your race ain't shit because you ain't the chosen people. Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, you're an abomination for the lifestyle that you live.
And it was used to keep us enslaved. Like,
right. Like, I don't get why Christianity is so big in black culture. I will never understand that.
I get it because it's hard. Like, it's sometimes it's hard to tear away from familiarity. The Stockholm syndrome isn't a thing that they just pulled out their ass. It's a real thing.
I know, but damn, at some point,
Yeah, for me,
it's not that niggas don't read the Bible. They pick and choose which parts of the Bible
They
they want
do.
to live by.
They do. I can speak
that part because niggas will definitely want 10 wives, but don't want to marry none of them.
Facts. All right, Shay, go girl.
My experiences at church, well, I don't particularly go anymore. It's because what's the part of the altar call? When they say, is Jesus waiting on you? And then turn to your neighbor, actually, they like people specifically like will turn around and look dead at me because I'm in church in slacks and a button-up shirt with some loafers on. And they were like, okay, well, God is waiting on you. No, he's not. Why is he specifically waiting on me?
You were at the club last night.
Niggas try to beat my ass for being gay, girl.
The deacons in the church are sleeping with everybody in the church, but you want to speak on homosexuality. Every time I go to church, regardless, homosexuality always comes up when they see me walk through the door.
It was the hot topic, bitch.
Why?
Let me tell.
I had this lady change her whole sermon. She was like, I had something different on my mind, but God put it on my heart. Homosexual. Like, bitch, no, he didn't. You see me and you decided that you want to talk about gay people because that's triggering to you. Why does my sexuality have to do anything going on in religion?
And the gag is, I'm not trying to fuck you. I'm not trying to fuck you, girl.
Exactly. I definitely ended up having a great sexual relationship with the man, finding out that he was then married. And then on top of that, the elder of a church.
He wasn't the youth minister, girl.
No, the whole ass elder.
Not an elder, bitch.
Yes. I'm on Facebook seeing the church pictures and everything.
Yeah, I know for me, I grew up Catholic. So, and if you know anything about the Catholic Church,
I do.
They over here touching their doors. So, and I honestly feel like that, maybe not solely the Catholic Church, but when specifically white people say that homosexuality and pedophilia are synonymous, it comes from shit like that.
Right, it definitely does.
Little boys. It's not the same. It's not synonymous, but that's where your mindset is. Because I could say, white people in school shootings are synonymous. It's, you know what I mean? Like, I could say the same thing. Like,
they don't talk about that.
Unapologetically black. We do not believe that white people.
Wait till next month.
Right.
Let me tell you.
You know what? You said that, but I ain't gonna sit and cap like my ass don't be thinking like that. I'll be like, hell yeah, girl. That's what white people
wait till next week.
We about to have this bitch on fire. I swear to God.
Dude, you've been way too generous. Talk about a month.
Right.
Well, because next month we're talking about white supremacy. Like next month. But yeah, I grew up Catholic. I am bisexual. My sister is a lesbian. We both grew up in the Catholic Church and we went to Catholic school, all of that. And I consider myself agnostic now. Like I believe,
I do too.
Power, but I don't subscribe to religion. And I think that's where the issue lies, is when you're subscribed to religion. Because it's used to hate. So not even just gay people. It's used to hate so many people. And yeah.
Even just people who aren't the same religion as you.
The Bible's full of gay people, but they don't want to talk about that either.
Oh, there's a lot of gay shit happening in the Bible.
It sure is.
David
skip right over that part.
Some shit. David had a little friend.
We're not going to talk about
a roommate.
That Jesus was depicted from a gay lover type. Like, that's crazy.
No,
they was fucking.
And then the incest that's in there.
Hello.
Like, it's some full ass Game of Thrones shit in there.
Not to mention sexual. What do you call that shit? Sexual abuse or sexual
assault.
Sexual assault.
Yeah, sexual violence.
God said it was okay. That's why I can't subscribe to it. I can't. Because y'all doing the fucking. What are your thoughts about the queer interpretation of the Bible? Because you got folks that say queer relationship beyond Leviticus. Oh yeah, girl. Hell yeah. All through that shit. At least into the New Testament, niggas was being gay. Niggas was gay.
I mean, if the Greeks was doing it, The Romans was doing it. A whole lot of other cultures was doing it.
And that's the
Y'all really
dominant
want
culture
me to
of
believe
that minority
y'all was
culture. Yes,
not
they was doing it.
participating?
They was doing it. They was doing it.
Right.
Because that's you had the
It.
main culture over the minority. Because Christians and Jewish or Christianity and Jewish people, they were quote unquote the minority of ancient civilization. Nigga, the motherfuckers above you saying that this shit is okay, bitch. 9 times out of 10, some motherfuckers in that minority is doing it too.
They had that long mountain trip with the herd and the sheep, and they was Brokeback Mountain in that shit.
Not broken back.
You can't tell me they wasn't. They was eating the beans and then spitting in that.
Girl, shut up.
What the fuck happened?
It was the movie from Brokeback Mountain when they was just eating beans and they start having raw spit sex in the mountains without cleaning out and shit like that.
You've never seen the movie. I can see on your face you've never seen that movie.
No, hell no. And from this conversation, I don't think I want to.
It was very white ass. I would have.
That's hilarious. So, obviously in the last month or so, there's been a lot of things going on in the government and, Roe v. Wade being overturned and
Fuck you, Clarence Thomas.
Right. And the next step they're saying is to overturn gay marriage. How do you guys feel about that?
Oh, girl.
They definitely even taken it a step further. There's one who's writing a bill to go. Actually, no, it was a couple of them that stood up to be against interracial marriage as well.
Clarence Thomas, not one of those.
Clarence Thomas, you thought you were safe, buddy. You're not. Your wife gonna up and leave you. I would not doubt it. Yeah. I don't think she would stay.
They're also
she got what she needed.
Sex illegal, which I was like, how would you even know what I'm doing?
Right, like
it's
you
also
want to blow in people's assholes.
Not even like exclusively homosexual. That's the crazy part. Like,
right.
Honestly, none of this really surprises me. Like, okay, so I feel like the problem with the U.S., especially how we were conditioned, like we're only concerned about self and not the collective. If this doesn't affect us, then it's not my problem.
False
so
democracy.
As soon as Roe and Wade was overturned, I was like, oh, bitch, they done this was all they needed to get the ball fucking rolling because everybody else got to be collateral fucking damage.
But at the same time, how many times do we say, that ain't your business, mind your business? That ain't got nothing to do with you, mind your business. But then when people say, that ain't my business, I'm minding it, now niggas is upset.
But see, it's
there's stuff that it's being obtuse.
It's a difference between saying it ain't your, when it's social shit, when it comes to social shit, when it's interpersonal relationship shit, if I say it's not your business, it's not your business. That means you're just trying to get it to my tea. But when it's, but I don't know, you should have the discernment to know when it is your business. Like if it's a mistreatment of a people, that's your business because what's happening to them could easily happen to you.
Because I can break it down for you. It's not your business what's going on in somebody's fucking uterus, but it is your business when their rights is being trampled on to have their say on what's going on with their uterus. That's your business.
Because it might not, but it's going to affect the future generations that you will make.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And I feel like literally every man knows a woman who has had an abortion. That's neither here nor there. Talking about gay rights. My sister is getting married September 10th, and I am in fear that her and her wife's marriage will no longer be valid shortly after they get married. And
that's horrible.
It's sad. It's horrible, right? She's a lawyer, so one of the things they've been saying is just to,
come on, power lesbian.
My lawyer is actually a lesbian, and I am so proud of that.
No, absolutely. When we had our lawyer episode, like my sister's like, I'm on the younger side. Mm-hmm. I have tattoos. I'm a lesbian. I present masculinely. She's like, I feel like I'm the only one that exists. And so people tend to like gravitate to her because it's someone that they feel like, they can build rapport with. Mm-hmm. But one of the things they've been saying about gay marriage protection is to go to a lawyer and get your living will written with your spouse as the person that gets everything so that you have some sort of paperwork that if something happens, they're not fucked.
Yeah.
And they can still have ownership over things if they make gay marriage essentially illegal and then invalidate all of the marriages that have occurred over the last 7-8 years.
Right. And then, like, that's just another tipping point because they're not going to stop there. They're definitely coming for interracial marriage. Like, I don't know why Clarence thought that was going to be untouched. Like,
no,
if
they want white babies. Like,
right.
COVID came, killed off a lot of people, and they're like, let's repopulate with white babies.
But
they gave them the perfect excuse because, like, saying, like, because it's not in the Constitution, it's not a law that should be written. They're going to use that to go after every law they don't like.
And we all know that the Constitution only benefited white people.
Yeah.
You don't know that?
So we might as well all get sized up for our shackles.
Oh, yeah. You are correct. White niggas.
White men. White men.
White women weren't part of that.
No, you're right. You're right. White women weren't a part of that, but it's like, no, it definitely wasn't written for us.
And it was written in 1774, you know.
You freed the what?
So, like, do you think we're going to be able to bling out our shackles this time? Because, like, I definitely want to give... Yes.
Look at the bedazzled.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. No, thank you.
I know we were still following shit from 300 years ago.
But we are.
They is not gonna stop. They're gonna roll us all the way back to the founding fathers, like they keep trying to quote
America great again. That was what Trump ran on, and that's what everybody.
Right? They always saying that's not what the founding fathers envisioned.
Nigga, they didn't envision a lot of shit, bro. Especially us. Right. Reading and learning and shit.
Reading and learning.
We're doing arithmetic and reading shit. You got a degree, bitch? You
right, like
motherfucking great right now.
Which one of these bitches was supposed to be Raven to where that they can look and see like, oh yeah, we need to put this shit up in there.
Oh, that took a second.
Yes.
Who's Raven?
but honestly, I feel like the whole constitutional debate, it's weaponized. It's weaponized for people to, because everybody, like Poe said it best, everybody wants to feel superior than the next person. Even people who are disenfranchised to a certain extent. You want to feel that I'm not like those other Negroes. Or I'm not like this. Or I'm not like them. You know, like, and this is some
Christian Walker.
Like, a lot of people, like, we want to do shit like that because it makes us feel bad. But, like, if you really sit down with yourself, like, a lot, like, even how we, like, treat children. Like, and I'm not trying to go on a whole tangent about, oh, you should have beat your kids. But, like, when people say, oh, well, I got my ass beaten, I turned out fine, so I'm going to do it to them. You want to feel,
right.
You want somebody to experience the lows that you experience, but you want to feel like you're better than. And like, if a lot of people could literally just sit down with themselves and be honest and be like, yeah, bitch, to a certain extent, I want to feel above. I want to be massa. Above the shit pile. I don't want to be at the bottom. And that's what people do. So they weaponize the Constitution, and then the niggas at the top is brainwashing or colluding with or coercing everybody else into the thinking like, oh yeah, bitch, you're not at the bottom, so you need to act like this way towards this group of people. When in actuality, 98% of us is at the bottom and don't even fucking realize it.
It's just like, oh, just ain't shit we can do about it. But in the 98%, fight about who's gonna be at the top of the 98%.
That part.
Because we know ain't shit we can do about
it. Just to Hakeem, like, okay. I'm hoping for the best. It's hard to have a positive outlook on it because, like, Roe v. Wade's been around for decades.
Right.
So it's like something that's been around for less than 10 years. That's easier to overturn, right? Like in their eyes.
Yeah. Like that's no problem.
Yeah, it's scary. It's a scary
one of them gonna be like, hold my cup.
Watch this.
Here's the sad truth about humans. There will always be an oppressor, and there will always be somebody who feels like they're more powerful than the next person.
Absolutely.
That is human nature.
You see that in the Pokemon community.
Oh, girl. I love Pokemon.
This has been around since the dawn of time. T-Rexes think that they overrun shit until they run into the wrong nigga. Then the caveman do it until he run into the wrong nigga, and then
right
to the wrong nigga, and then they feel like okay.
But still, all of this is fucking like the difference between men and animals and dinosaurs is that I don't want to say we have higher thought or higher cognition, but we make ourselves believe that we are higher than that. And so a lot of the things that we inflict is because of ourselves. Shit like that's biology. That motherfucker's bigger than most, and then they have a natural predator. If you don't have a natural predator, then yeah, bitch, you is on top of that shit. But as social animals, I mean, because I try to stay with science as well. But if we're gonna be social, if we're gonna be biological and social at the same time, then yeah, a lot of the shit that we inflict, we do it from ourselves. These are learned behaviors. Even if it's in us, you can still curb that shit to be like, oh, I'm not gonna be like that.
Exactly, because you don't have to be a power hungry dick bag all the time.
You don't have to be, but somebody will be.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. So I am going to wrap it up with this question, which it still feels like, damn, we could keep talking. But I know nobody wants. That's what I'm saying. But I know nobody wants to play back 2 hours of podcast. So
come on, think of them.
With that being said, right? I gotta think about Spotify. I gotta think about Apple Podcast. I gotta think about all the playbacks.
How long is this shit? I'm gonna give you about 2 hours, girl. That's about it. That's
right. Like even YouTube probably done cut us off for streaming live. But my last question to you is, as a Black community, do you feel like there is enough support for the LGBTQ, not on a personal level, but just in general? And what can we do to make, the community feel, I guess, more comfortable? Is
it okay if I go first? Is it okay if I go first? Okay. So, honestly, because I'm 33. So I want to say I want to say yes. Like, it's way better than what it was in 2010, 2005, 2001, 1998, 1995. Like, I remember each of these years of my life and how Black people perceive our community. Like, we were like, you went from like treating us from being a separate, like, because that's what people do. They be like, oh, they try to like, oh, they get like, oh, you LGBTQIA, so you ain't Black. It's like, bitch, like I'm Black. Like we the same. Like I experienced most of the shit that you experienced and then some. Mm-hmm. We can see it through media, how more accepting that some people like. I have 3 straight brothers, bro. Like 3 big ass niggas, and they're like, oh yeah, that's and I'm the oldest. Like I'm the oldest, and it's not weird. They want what's name, and it'd be little microaggressions that some people from the outside may say, or how they like try to navigate or try to respond to having a queer sibling. But like, I really do feel like there's more acceptance than what it was 30 years ago.
Do they protect you pretty well?
I mean, for the most part, there's been sometimes I'll be like, bitch, if you don't say nothing, I'm about to whoop everybody's ass, including yours. Because I'm still the oldest, bitch. Like, don't, but like, and then it was one time we had a falling out. One of them called me a faggot, but I was like, bro, like if that ever happens again, you are fucking dead to me, and that's like dead ass. But like I feel like we do have.
You put the bass on and everything.
Yeah, dead ass. But like I feel like we are at a better place. Like as far as like representation, you should see shit in like power. Oh, you see, these niggas is drug dealers, and you got a gay brother, and like nobody's making a big deal about it. Am I saying everything's perfect? No, because we still have ashy ass niggas on the internet, and there's some ashy ass Black gay niggas too. And I'm not gonna throw no shade and no names. But while we was in them Pokemon groups, I done met plenty of Black girls, and I'm calling them girls. Yeah. I'm calling them the girls because they one of us. They me.
The girls.
But they wanna appease to the ashy straight niggas to be like, oh, let's make these niggas comfortable instead of like unifying. So there's still much work. There's work that we need to do with the straight cis Black community and the straight homosexual community, about the queer, the Black queer community, because there's a lot of people out here who's existing and they don't realize that they've cultivated and matured in self-hate. Like they navigate the world through self-hate and don't even see it. So there's lots of work that we can still be done, but I feel like it's way better than what it was 20 years ago, even 15 years ago. Like the fact that we see that there's gay rappers, bro. Like that's something as a 15-year-old. When I was 15 years old, I would have never imagined the Saucy Santana or Lil Nas X, girl, because that was not a thing.
Never.
I guarantee you, 2005, that shit would not have flown that at all.
Right.
So yeah, I feel like.
Well, I mean, and even still, when Lil Nas X like came on the music scene. It was until he got popular that he said that you know what I mean? He didn't come out as being gay and then start making music. Like, no, he had to get get comfortable, or
he had to make music first, then get a Grammy, and then come out and
then say right.
But then we got saucy though too, because you know what? Because we hold masculinity to a pedestal too. White and oh god, white gays can do so much. They can be the bare minimum, mediocre, and everything that a black gay can't be.
That's not just white gays. That's white people. Continue.
Yeah, they can be any. And I'm saying this because I'm not a woman and I'm not a transgender woman, but like being masculine presented. Oh, you can't have a broken wrist, or you can't talk like this, or what's name, because that's normally labeled as being unattractive. But like my white peers, they can be just as flamboyant as me and have the biggest, bronziest, muscle tone black man that they can find. So it's work. It's work in every area that we can do. But like I said, I'm gonna shut up because I can keep rambling about this for fucking days. But like, yeah, we're better than what we used to be, but it's so much shit that we can work towards to and be better.
I feel you, Cam.
Well, I will say, yeah, definitely it's better than 20 years ago. But from a trans perspective, are we in a good place? No. The fact that we're still dealing with the fact that we're still having high amounts of black trans bodies, black trans women pile up every year, murdered by their significant other or anything. Like, I was almost one of those statistics because I was attacked last year by my partner. My boyfriend at the time tried to kill me. Like, so I know this personally that shit's still not good for trans women.
Yeah.
Like there's still just blatant disrespect. Like the only way that it's really good is if you pass.
And like
like that passing privilege lets you slide by. And so that's when it's good, when you can just coast by unnoticed. Because I'm the first trans individual in my family. I was the first one to come out as gay. And now I am the first trans one in my family. Oh, shit, that's glass.
My laptop was gonna die.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, for black trans women, you hear about it all the time. Like just black trans women missing, or bodies being found. It's
like the fact that Pose happened, and the only one that was getting awards for it was Billy Porter.
Yeah, that's male privilege. It's and I hate to say it, but it's a hierarchy. I mean, and we naturally do that amongst ourselves. Just like Blanca said, everybody wants to feel superior to somebody, and even if it's subconscious or it's like you don't have an intent of it, like we got to walk around with the awareness, like, hey, I have the advantage over somebody else who's seen as less than me. Right. And not saying that you are less than, but like, yeah. And I say this all the time. I fought many of black niggas in Arjana over some anti-trans shit. I'm not a trans person, even though I fall under the umbrella. But it's like, bro, bitch, you're gay. You're gay. How dare you sit up here and primp your lips to be transphobic and then want to say that I'm the problem? No, right. You're the fucking problem because you're still benefiting of being a fucking cisgendered ass man in this society, and you're seen as more valuable than what the fuck she is.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's a thing, bro. It's fine.
And Shay, how do you feel about black community and support?
Because I feel strongly about this. Like, I feel like they just doing. I feel like the government, or some supporters, not all supporters, but I feel like some supporters just do it just to shut us up. I'm like, well, y'all keep fussing about it. Well, here you go ahead and get a couple of rights, and we're gonna let y'all do what y'all do. But in a couple of years, when it don't benefit us, like the government and shit like that, then they're gonna try to rip it away because
you know what, that makes sense.
Oh yeah,
we're just gonna give it to you until we decide that you guys aren't
to make you
complacent
anymore. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. So I don't like. Well, I stay on the southwest side of Houston.
Gang.
I can't tell you where no help is at all for the gay community. It's because I see a lot of young gay men out here. I see a lot of young gay homeless men, a lot of gay females that's just out because their families have put them out. They don't have anywhere to turn to or anything like that. So
and you
how
in the
can
hood.
they say that they're inclusive with us? And yeah, exactly. Look, Fondren and Maine, baby, Fondren and Maine.
And you in the hood.
So it's I just feel like I just feel
I used to stay in the
West.
West.
I
heard you.
But
I feel like
mean,
being
at the end of the day, like I say, it's crazy.
There's no homeless people in DC.
I don't feel like it.
I'm not talking about the homeless people, and there are plenty of homeless people in DC. That's neither here nor there, Richard. I'm saying in DC because it is just a hub, and there is a large LGBTQ IA community. There is a lot of like help here. There are people you can go to. There are communities. You know what I mean? So I have that like skewed view, but being from Michigan, I'm sure that doesn't exist. You know what I mean? Like, or as much. So yeah, I think it depends on where you are for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because like out here in Ohio, there's like no help for trans people that much. Like I'm in Ohio.
I'm in Ohio right now.
What part?
I'm actually from Akron.
Oh shit! I got a store in Menor, which is like 20 minutes from Akron.
Oh yeah.
He does escape rooms. So
yeah, I'm in Columbus
right now. I want to go to an escape room. Like
go to Menor. We got one.
Okay.
Well, that's actually a great wrap up. But before we completely wrap up, I just wanted to Line's message where he said, "I agree that support for the LGBTQ plus community has gotten better for people of color within that community." I fucked that sentence up. However, I believe that there is always room for improvement. A way things could get better is we implement more normalization of gay culture. Like Kai said, representation is great, but being treated as an actual human being rather than a label. Okay, I didn't mess that up. He did. Or something different is always appreciated. Yeah, like at the end of the day, we're all human. We're all part of the human race. And while there may be a bunch of, different things about us, that's the beauty of being human. Like that's literally the beauty of meeting someone and getting to know what's different than you.
Yeah.
So no, you don't. I talk fast. Apparently, it's okay. You can have your typos. Nothing's wrong.
Yeah.
But with that being said, Saturday Shit Talk Saturday, so we'll be back for that.
Dang.
And Tuesday is our first episode on racism. Sundown Towns.
Sundown Town.
Oh, baby. Y'all should have invited me back.
You going there?
Vider, fucking Texas, bitch. Don't go to Vider, girl. You know what? They had a Black Lives Matter rally and that shit, and they said Vider, Texas. And I'm like,
wait, they still have Sundown Towns?
Yeah.
Paris, Texas.
Oh my God.
Short cities out of Port Arthur.
You don't say it, but you know it. You
right
know
outside
it.
of El Paso. Anything in between El Paso and fucking San Antonio. All of that.
That is such a fucking shame.
You better not go. You better not stop for gas, bitch. You better keep going.
Mind you, the distance between San Antonio and El Paso is 900 miles. Don't stop. Go.
Get there. Nah. Kai, if you want to be a part of that episode, let me know.
Okay, just whenever y'all want. Whenever y'all need some shit, cause hell, just as much as I am gay, I am very much as Black from the fucking South. So
Right.
But thank you guys so much for joining us. This was a great conversation. I knew it would be. And until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay unapologetically Black. Have a good night.
Always.
Hey, Moo, is that an Avatar shirt?
Really? I have